What's going on, everybody? You're watching New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. The Saquon Barkley rumors continue to roll on, and now we have conflicting reports from Ian Rapoport. Ian Rapoport said a couple of days ago on NFL Network that the New York Giants had put an offer they previously offered Barkley back on the negotiating table. But then today, Rapoport kind of walked it back and said, I kind of misspoke. This is what he said. He said, what I should have said, I misspoke a little bit, is that the two sides have been negotiating and have been discussing. As far as an offer being on the table, it does not sound like that quite yet. So that was maybe a little premature, but they are discussing. They are back in communication with Saquon Barkley. You never like anything that's a little bit premature. I know that's for sure. But this is good news. This is good news if you are a fan of Barkley and if you want him to re-sign a long-term deal with the New York Football Giants. Anytime you can get two parties that really can't agree on a sticking point to sit back at the table, that's going to be good if you are in the camp that the Giants should sign to a long-term deal, which I think they should. I think Barkley means so much to this football team. Even though I have my doubts and I have my concerns and I know how risky it is to give that second contract to a running back, I believe Barkley is deserving of that and more. Team captain, great player. He's a leader in the locker room, and he's a face, really, of this organization. And I honestly feel better about a deal getting done. I think it was on Monday of this week during our live show, we showed you guys those quotes that Barkley had, and when he spoke to the media at a youth football camp that he held over the weekend. And when I initially heard those comments, I was like, I don't feel good about this. I feel less confident than I ever did that a deal would get done by that July 17th deadline. But now they're back at the table. Rapoport is hearing things. And I just feel like we are going to see a deal get done. But I do believe that the Giants and Joe Schoen could be playing a little game of chess right here. Or I guess chicken is a little of a better word right there. Are the Giants waiting for the Las Vegas Raiders and Josh Jacobs to ink a long-term deal so that that a deal and kind of a benchmark of what a top-tier running back in this league could get paid? Could the Giants be wanting to wait? Could Saquon Barkley be wanting to wait? I think both sides would like for a deal to get done, whereas I think the Raiders would like to get a deal done with Jacobs, while the Giants get a deal done with Barkley, because I think Barkley is going to get paid more than Jacobs, and if Jacobs takes Barkley's offer to the Raiders, he's going to want that same type of money. So I would expect the Raiders and Jacobs talks to heat up pretty soon here. That's what Mitchell Renz, our Raiders Report host, is saying as well. Also, I think it helps Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs. This little bit of information. Reports came out of Indianapolis that the Colts and Jonathan Taylor are working on a new long-term deal. And if Taylor wants a deal and he's able to get that new deal, that will then serve as a benchmark for Barkley and Jacobs. And I think that would really expedite the process of both of these backs as they try to look to become one of the richest players to ever play the position. I do believe, though, that a deal will be done by July 17th. I just don't see a way where Saquon Barkley plays week one of the season and he's not on a long-term deal. Obviously, there is a chance that he plays on that franchise tag at $10.1 million. But I think when you have motivation from both sides, Barkley has said it time and time again. He wants to be a Giant for life. The Giants, John Mara, Brian Dable, Joe Schoen, they say they love Barkley. They say Barkley, they want him to be a Giant. So the Giants want Barkley. Barkley wants the Giants. They're both just going to have to give and give up a little bit more than they want to get this deal done. And I think by July 17th, maybe it'll come down to the wire again like it did with Daniel Jones around that franchise tag period. But I do think a deal gets done. Maybe you don't. Let me know. Do you think a deal, a long-term deal for Saquon Barkley, the second overall pick, gets done by the July 17th franchise tag deadline? Sound off in the comments. Type Y for yes, type N for no. And make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, because if and when a long-term deal does or does not get done for Barkley, we're going to make a video here on the channel. We are going to be the channel that's going to let you guys know first whether Barkley is back on a long-term deal or he's going to have to play on that franchise tag. So subscribe and also get videos every day about Big Blue. Let's keep the theme going around Barkley for the rest of today's video, because Bleacher Report put out an article talking about the Giants trading Barkley for Mike Evans. And I honestly thought the wide receiver one rumors were done for the New York Giants. I don't really think they need to go out and trade for a wide receiver one. Do they still need one? Yes, but can they get by and can they be a good offense with the receivers they have? I absolutely think they can. But I am willing to admit that Mike Evans is underrated. I think Mike Evans is looked at by a lot of people in the National Football League as a good receiver, a number one wide receiver, but probably outside that top 12, 13, 14, or 15. Probably in the second half of those number ones. And I don't know if you can even say that because when you look at the production, which is really the only thing that matters when you're ranking these players, Mike Evans has arguably been the most productive wide receiver in the National Football League since he's entered the league. 9 straight years of over 1,000 yards for Mike Evans, the former Texas A&M Aggie. I mean, this past year, in just 15 games played, Evans had 77 receptions for just over 1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 14.6 yards per catch. That's my favorite part about Evans' game. 14 yards per catch in 2021, 14 plus in 2020, and 17 plus in 2019. He is a big play threat. And you guys know I want more explosive plays out of this offense, and I believe Mike Evans will bring that. The thing is, does it fit right now with the timeline? Maybe if it was a couple months ago, maybe if it was prior to the NFL draft, I would have been more intrigued about a Barkley for Evans swap. But with Hodgins, Shepard, Robinson, Slayton, Campbell, Hyatt, Crowder, Johnson, Bryce Ford, Wheaton, Jeff Smith, that's 9 guys right there. The Giants are only going to keep 7. Do you really want to add another player to this mix, more cap money to this pick, another asset, and really have to sacrifice Barkley to add to this wide receiver core, and then you have a young running back group and Eric Gray with Matt Breida? I don't know. We got a trade idea, though, from Bleacher Report that we're going to talk about this idea. But first, we got a deal, and it's for subscribers. So subscribe, and then go to chatsports.com/Giants Hat Combo. The deal is not going to last forever. And Father's Day, maybe, you did it a little bit late, but your pop will look pretty good in this. A hat and a t-shirt for $23.99. So if you're not trying to break the bank, but you want real, authentic New York Giants gear, this is the deal for you. Go to chatsports.com/Giants Hat Combo. That link's in the comments and description down below. This is the move that Bleacher Report suggested, where they had Evans going to New York, Barkley going to Tampa Bay, but it wasn't just a straight-up one-for-one swap. And if this was a one-for-one swap where we get Evans, they get Barkley, deal's done, shake hands, go play 17 football games, I'd be down with that. But Bleacher Report also had the New York Giants shipping out a second-round pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, and that going to Tampa. And for me, I just can't do that. I can't give you Barkley and a second-round pick for almost a 30-year-old wide receiver, despite Evans being one of the most productive in the league. But maybe you think the Giants should make this deal. Maybe the Giants don't get a long-term deal done with Saquon, and they look to then see what his market value is. And maybe they stumble upon the Buccaneers' phone number. They get on the phone, and this deal gets talked about. And if you were the GM, would you do it? Type A for accept, type D for decline. I think I made myself pretty clear here. I do not want to make this deal. I would not. I would decline. I just think that the way the Giants have gone about this offseason, if you would have made this deal prior to the draft, I would have been more on board with it. Then you wouldn't have had to have taken Jalen Hyatt in that 3rd round. Maybe you still would have been able to. Maybe you don't trade for Darren Waller if you do this deal, because think about it like this. You would have turned a 3rd-round pick, a 2nd-round pick, and Saquon Barkley into Mike Evans and Darren Waller, and that just seems like a lot for me personally after you just traded Kadarius Toney. Giants need one day to have that top dog wide receiver, that number 1 wide receiver. But I think the list of 2s and 3s that they have on this roster, as well as Darren Waller, who I think a lot of people are sleeping on right now, I think they're going to be very, very fine and just be able to get that job done. Just good enough for the Giants to be a competitive team. As always, thank you, and I appreciate you guys for tuning in to New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. Hope you have a good weekend, and happy Father's Day out there to all the Giants dads.